Okay, welcome to day 8 of Gita Gyan Level 1 course. So remember, this program, Gita Gyan, is not like a one-time 18-day course. You're done reading Gita, then you forget about it, move on with your life. This is a program to connect you to Krishna consciousness for life. Right? Even after the 18 days, I request you. I see many people quitting the groups already. They're not interested in this topic. That's understood, but they might be just interested in this one topic and nothing else. But stay connected in that group is what I'm requesting you, because we want to connect you to ISKCON, understand what is philosophies of ISKCON, because just studying this 18 days, there are many people, unless you're Arjuna, who understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in 30 minutes and we were done, right? He didn't have further questions. Unless you're of that capability, it's always good to continue reading Bhagavad Gita for life. And we will keep connecting you with a lot of devotees. We'll connect you with a lot of reading programs. In this Gita Gyan course, we are just about reading few verses, but the level 2 of Gita Gyan will go through every 700 verses, every verse in Gita, 700 verses, one by one, and we'll go through a detailed explanation on each verses. So don't quit the groups yet. Stay connected with this. Will take you through the journey of how to get better in your understanding of Krishna consciousness. So be patient. I know I see a lot of questions in your quizzes and feedback on the comment section also. People want to learn shlokas. They want to learn new kirtans. It will all happen. Okay, today in this Gita Gyan level 1 course, we are focused on understanding the basics of Krishna conscious philosophy. Okay, as we connect, go higher, you will get to know a lot of shlokas. You will get to know a lot of kirtans that we do on a day-to-day basis. For those who are still interested, there's a book called Vaishnava Songs. Okay, it's a book that is available in the temple counters. So ever if you go into ISKCON centers, you ask for the book. There are a lot of kirtans, Narsimha kirtans, Tulsi kirtans, Krishna kirtans, Radha Madhav, Bhajo Re Mana, such beautiful songs, songs by Bhakti Vinod Thakurji, Narottama Thakur. There are so many acharyas of Vaishnava culture, and there are a lot of books as well. But let's focus on what we have come here for. Okay, there'll be a lot of features we'll keep adding on to this program as we go into the next level of Gita level in future. So I request all of you to be patient. Just focus on what we're talking about in this course. And as we move forward, you'll get to know more. Okay, we definitely appreciate your enthusiasm, your eagerness to learn more. But everything will come in time. And as you associate, if you're more eager still, come to our temple sometime in ISKCON Sheshadripuram, be part of the Sunday program. Just by association there, you'll get to know so much about devotee culture, how to, what are the songs we sing, Jagannath's Ashtakams. These are things that we do every day almost, but we'll get there when we get there. For now, we'll try to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Okay, we start our class, our obeisances to Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadramai, Sudarshanji, Lakshmi Narsimha, Panchatattva, and the Guru Parampara. And let's start with a prayer. Who wants to recite these prayers? Okay, I'll go ahead. Sureka. Go ahead.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे
कृष्ण हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय। Thank you for chanting the whole entire one round of Mahamantra with me. 108 times is one round. Is there anyone here today who chanted for the very first time? You might be on video or not, that's okay. Is there anyone who chanted for the very first time today? No, everyone has been chanting?
Yes, Mataji, I'm doing first time.
Okay, BK, Sir, Physics, Fuji. Okay. Okay, nice to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what are I sent a 1 minute video earlier in the group. Did everyone listen to it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Those who listened, there were 3 points mentioned by Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj about chanting. What are those 3 things?
You must chant it with lot of feelings.
A lot of faith. Okay.
And you must also listen to the verse that you are chanting.
Okay.
And
Third,
whatever
Chant
we
with
chant,
feeling,
listen to that.
Mataji.
chant with feeling. So the 3 things
Chant.
Maharaj said is, one, the mantra should be spoken clearly. Okay. It should be spoken audibly. It's not that you're thinking about these mantras in your head. No. You don't have to shout and speak the mantras, not loudly, audibly. You should be able to hear it yourself and you should say it clearly. Second thing is you should be listening to your own mantras. Okay, while you're chanting, you're listening, not that you're distracted, you're looking at things around. No, you're listening to what you're chanting. The third thing is to chant with feelings. Feelings of what? Your begging Krishna. I've lived in this material world for too long. I'm tired of this world. Now, please engage me in your service. You're begging him. We are asking him for his mercy, right? So your mood while praying should be like that. You're begging Krishna to take mercy on you and engage you in devotional service. Okay. So 3 things, please remember. All of you did very well. Whoever came on video did very well. I could see you're focusing very nicely, chanting. Try to avoid moving around while you're chanting. You can move around. If you can't sit and chant, you can move around. But if you're comfortable sitting and chanting in one place, that's great. Okay. If you like to chant around Tulsi Maharani, you can do that. Okay. But don't stand in the balcony, look at what's going on in the neighborhood, look at the window. Don't look for distractions like that. Okay. If you want to walk within your house, looking at the DT pictures in your house, that's all okay. Okay. So a few things to remember. And also don't keep looking at your phone. Disconnect yourself during the time of chanting, what's happening around you. Right. So these are the few things. And with that, we'll go ahead with our class for today. Okay. Jai.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Resh also is saying he or she is doing it for the first time today. Glad to know, Mataji, Prabhuji. Okay. Our class today is dedicated to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Gita Mahatmya. Who wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Mataji, may I try?
Go ahead. Yes, Prabhuji.
Gitayah pustakam yatra
Yatra.
nitya yatra.
Mhm.
Gitayah pustakam yatra nitya pathascha vartate tatra sarvani tirthani prayaga dini bhutale.
Okay. I'll just recite it once. Gita pustakam yatra nitya patascha vartate tatra sarvani tirthani prayagadini bhutale. Go ahead.
Yeah. All the holy places in this universe, such as Prayaga, are eternally present wherever the Gita, the eternal book of divine song, is present. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So till yesterday, we were reading from Gita Mahatmya, which was written by Adi Shankaracharya. Today, we are reading from Sri Vaishnaviya Tantra. Now, this Vaishnaviya Tantra is part of the conversation between Suta Goswami and the Naimisharanya sages. So they spoke on various topics, and one of the topics there is Sri Vaishnaviya Tantra. Okay, so there's a reference to Prayagraj in this verse. Okay, they're saying all the holy places in this one universe, such as Prayaga, are eternally present where the Gita, the eternal book of the divine song, is present. Prayagraj is very famous these days. Can anyone tell me for what?
The
Mahakumbh,
Kumbh
Mataji, madam.
Mela.
Yes, the
So
Mahakumbh.
Mataji, one is Kumbh Mela, and
Yes,
when the Samudra Manthan happened,
yes.
and there was a Amrit Kalash, which
Uh-huh.
Mohin Bhagwan was like kind of distributing.
Yes, yes.
So it
We'll
got
come to
spilled
that
over 4
pastime.
places.
Yes.
Yeah, it
So,
got spilled over 4 places.
yes.
One of the places is
One of them
Prayagraj.
is Prayagraj, correct. So Prayagraj is famous for the Mahakumbh. So we have the very famous Triveni Sangam over here. These are the places where Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati are merging together. Ganga and Yamuna are still on the material planet. Saraswati has already unmanifested from the material planet, but still she is manifesting there magically, mystically, and hence this place is still called as Triveni Sangram. And as Prabhu mentioned during Samudra Mantana, after the Devatas received the kalash of nectar, they were holding it and running so that the asuras don't catch hold of this nectar, because if they have this nectar, they'll become eternal, they'll live forever, immortals. So they were running with this kalasha, and 4 drops of nectar fell on 4 places. Which are the 4 places? One is Prayagraj,
Another is Nasik.
Nasik,
Ujjain and
Ujjain,
Haridwar.
and Haridwar.
Haridwar.
Correct. So this Mahakumbh that we have, okay, it happens once in 12 years. But there's also Ardha Kumbh that happens once in 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, 12 years. So like this, all these kumbhs happen in any of these 4 places. But Mahakumbh happens in Prayagraj, where the 3 confluence of rivers come together. Okay, it happens every 12 years. And also it's said that the position, the constitution of the sun, moon, and Jupiter is why? Because Guru, right? It's such that whoever takes a dip in the Sangam during this particular period, there are 2 things mentioned. One, their impious sins from the past life that gets dissolved, and also liberation from material earth. So it's very auspicious to take a dip. But for Vaishnavas, especially for people like you and me, what is also important is another factor, because it said that during this time, even devatas from heavenly planets, they keep visit this place, because even heaven, they cannot collect this kind of pious activities. So they have to come to earthly planets to collect more pious or learn spiritual activities. And it's said that devatas, they come to earthly planet in such periods, and they mingle among the crowd like one of them, right? And it's also always nice to serve such exalted devotees of the Lord who come, sages, devatas, in whatever form they come. It's nice to go serve them. And that is also the essence of this chapter 8, devotional service. Okay, so we'll continue in that theme for the rest of the chapter as well. So this is about Mahakumbh. So Krishna is saying, for people for people who read the Bhagavad Gita, it's as good as taking that dip in Prayagraj. For all of you are saying who cannot go to Mahakumbh this time round, you don't have to fret. You just have to immerse yourself in Gita. Okay, and this book is divine because it's coming from the mouth of the divine personality of God himself, Krishna himself. So the song he sung is also divine. So this is how we understand this verse of Gita, Shri Vaishnaviya Tantra, which is also praising Gita. Okay, and with that we go to chapter 8. So remember, in chapter 7, Krishna is talking on how he's maintaining the whole universe. He gave an example of the pearl necklace and how he's engaging the material energy. He's engaging the material energy to control all the jivas who are in this material world. And what is this material energy of Krishna doing? She's controlling us with strings, with Rajaguna, Tamaguna, and Sattva Guna, 3 gunas. So everybody who is in the material world is controlled by these 3 gunas. Okay, and it's also said that only a devotee who surrenders to Krishna is free from this 3 gunas or prakriti. Okay, and we also discussed the four types of people who don't surrender versus the four type who surrender. So ultimately, Krishna is saying, further, there's people who surrender to demigods. He calls them less intelligent, and people who surrender to Brahman, he calls them unintelligent. Right? But the intelligent devotee, he says, is one who wants liberation from the process of life and death, and they follow the path of devotional service. So that's how we close chapter 7. So Krishna is giving knowledge about the absolute in chapter 7. Now he's telling in chapter 8 how to attain the absolute, right? How to attain the supreme. So this is a common question. The main topic that is discussed in this chapter of how to attain the supreme, the main and critical question is, what is that one thing we need to do to achieve Krishna? The answer to that, the straightforward answer to that is discussed in this chapter, is that we need to remember Krishna at the point of death. Okay, that's the only way to attain Krishna. But the process to remember Krishna at the point of death, how to go about it, that is what is discussed in this chapter. Okay, we'll read the fifth verse of chapter 8. Does anyone want to try?
May I,
Hare
Mataji?
Krishna Mataji.
Sumit Prabhuji. And
Yes,
next will
Mataji.
be
Hare
Preeti
Krishna.
Mataji for the next verse.
Antakale च माम् एव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रायति समद्भावं यति नास्ति अत्र संशय. Translation: and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature, of there is no doubt. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so you can see in the picture Bhishma Pitamaha. He's lying down in a bed of arrows. And what a glorious death he has. Think about it. He's dying and he's reciting the Vishnu Sahasranama. He composed and recited the Vishnu Sahasranama, and is reciting it looking at Krishna. This is at his point of death, right? And also, he's not just remembering Krishna, he's seeing Krishna as well, right? So this is a most auspicious kind of death that one can expect. But Krishna in this verse is saying, at the end of his life, quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Okay, so he's making it very clear. Krishna in this verse is saying, at the point of death, just if you remember him, that is enough. Immediately will attain his nature. Krishna is the only supreme liberated person. We discussed this yesterday. He is the only supreme liberated person. So all of us are bound by material nature. We are all conditioned souls, right? Krishna is the only Paramatma, right? And we are all Jivatma. We are Jivatma because we are conditioned. Now, after liberation, when we go back to, say, Goloka, Vaikunta, whichever planet we reach, we are going to be liberated souls, but we are still not one with Krishna. Krishna is still different. We are still different. We are not one with him. Okay, we are no longer conditioned, but we are still liberated souls. Okay, we are not one with the Supreme Lord. So we always have that difference. The Supreme Lord will be Supreme Lord, and the rest of us will be souls. We'll be either conditioned or unconditioned, depending on where we exist. So hence, Krishna in this verse is saying, you'll attain my nature. He doesn't say you'll attain me. He's saying you'll attain my nature. You'll get the same liberation quality that Krishna has. He's only liberated person. But if you go back to Goloka, even you get liberated. You get liberated from the material conditioning. Right, so you'll get his nature, but he'll not become one with him. So he's not saying you'll attain me. He's saying you'll attain my nature. Okay, we need to understand that difference. Let's read the next verse. Preeti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Text 6. Yam yam vapi smarana bhavam taya jantaya ante kalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhav bhavitaha. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So whatever state that one remembers, whatever he remembers at the point of death, that is what you become, right? So if you don't remember Krishna, but you are thinking about your, say, your wife, then next birth you'll get a woman body, right? If you're thinking of your children, depending on the gender, you might get that kind of body, right? So, or if you're thinking about your property, what to do, nobody who will take care of it, you're worried about it, you'll be reborn in that property, but maybe as a pet animal or as a lizard or some insect. Or if you constantly are thinking about some soap opera you are watching on the TV, you will be born with the same mentality that you are getting absorbed into, right? That's a very sad state to die, watching TV, news, not engaged in any kind of spiritual activities. So we should try, as we get towards the end part of the life, we should try constantly to remember Krishna. That should be our only motive in our complete life if you can. But at least if you cannot focus on Krishna the whole life, get more serious as we get older, right? We need to be careful of what we think of when we die. Ultimately, that's what Krishna is saying. The best way to die is, of course, thinking about Krishna. Now, there's a nice story of a person called Bharat Maharaj. Before I talk about Bharat Maharaj, let me talk about his father, Rishabhadeva. Rishabhadeva is the Lord himself. He's one of the avatars of Krishna. He's called as Avaduta, right? Why? Remember, because Rishabhadeva, he was a king. He was a very renowned king. He had all the opulences, all everything, large kingdom, lot of people liking him, and people liked him as a king. He was a just ruler. But when the time was right, he was not attached to this kingdom, right? So when the time was right, he decided to quit ruling all the opulence kingdom. He decided to quit all of that and accept sannyasa. And instantly, his son Bharata, he started training him on how to be the next king. So after being trained, Rishabhadeva, he quit his kingdom. Now, after he accepted sannyasa, he does not, he's not worried about what am I wearing clothes or not wearing, am I dirty, how am I looking, what will people think about me. Sannyasis are supposed to be very renowned people, but he looks such like a beggar, like a madman, and he didn't care for his appearance at all, but he was internally very immersed in the Lord, and hence the name Avaduta. He gets the name Avaduta. He said that he was so pure internally that even his stool was very fragrant, right? Our stool, all the flies, dirty things get attracted, but his stool, the honeybees used to get attracted to him. So that was his father, Rishabhadeva. So now, after him, Bharata took over the kingdom. And Bharata himself, he was just like his father. He was a very nice kingdom, ruled very nicely, took care of his citizens nicely. And when the time was right again, he decided to give up everything and pursue completely, meditating on the Lord. So this happened, and just like his father, he quit everything. It said that while he was ruling also, he had reached such a stage of bhakti, which is called the bhava stage of bhakti. And it is one of the highest stages of bhakti. He had already reached that level. And at that point, he left ruling his kingdom, gave up everything, went to a jungle by the side of a river. He built a small kutira shed, and every day he'll go to the river, offer water to his shaligrama, flowers. He'll do his Sandhya Vandana prayers. So he continued meditating on the Lord. With or without opulence, it didn't matter. He continued meditating on the Lord. So this way, one time when he was offering his prayers to his shaligrama, on the other side of the river, he saw a pregnant deer. This deer was pregnant, and suddenly from behind the bushes, a tiger leaped on it. The deer was so afraid that it quickly ran into the water, and in between the water flow, it gave birth to a baby deer. Okay, and because of the water flow, the deer and the baby deer got separated. And Bharata was observing all this from the other side of the river. So what he did, he quickly ran to save the baby deer. He saved it from the water, brought it home to his kutira, and slowly he took care of it, fed it nicely, made sure it had enough sun, heat, enough physical activities. It was getting fed on time. It was not bored alone at any time. So he took care of the deer nicely. But slowly, he started thinking more about the deer. Imagine he left everything, his kingdom, everything, but slowly he's getting attached to the deer to the point that if he does not see the deer around, immediately he'll start panicking. Right? He'll think, what happened? The deer must have stepped out. Some animal would have eaten it. So one time like this, when the deer was not around, he stepped out of his kutira looking for the deer, and with much, so much pain in his heart, he's looking for the deer. And finally, he actually fell down from a cliff thinking about the deer. And because of this, because he had, though he was in the bhava stage of bhakti, because he was thinking about the deer at death, next birth he was born as a deer. But by the mercy of the Lord, this deer remembered its past activities. It remembered and it understood what the mistake was in his previous life. And the deer took a rebirth again. This deer would spend time near the kutira of other ashramas of other sages, sannyasis. So this way it would spend, it continued being in spiritual knowledge, right? And the next birth, he was born as Jada Bharata. And Jada Bharata is also a nice devotee of the Lord. So this is how he continued his human life. Because, but what Krishna is saying in this verse is that we should remember whatever we remember at the time of death will become that. So, if one wants to achieve success at the end of life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. So, nobody likes to fail, it's understood. Right? The only success we should strive for is to remember Krishna at the point of death. Otherwise, we are failing in life. We'll have to keep coming back. If you fail in exam, you'll have to retake that exam again and again. Like that. If you fail in this, you have got this human body, and the only purpose of this human body is to remember Krishna. And if you fail in this exam, you'll have to keep coming back to take birth again in this material life. There's a very a renowned sage called Kulashekar Alvar. Okay, he has wrote a very nice prayer called Mukunda Mala Stotra. Now, in this, he's saying, I'm healthy right now, right? If you want, if I have to die, please let me die right now while I can remember you, right? Otherwise, what could happen at the point of death? I might be affected by the three doshas in my body, kapha, pitta, vata, right? And because of that, my consciousness may not be to a point where I can remember you. So while I still am in good shape, let me die. So remembering the Lord at death is that important. Okay, and now let's understand the next verse then. What can be done to remember the Lord at death? Let's read verse 7.
May I, Mataji?
Jai Lakshmi Mataji.
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मरयुध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Hare
Very,
Krishna.
very powerful. Thank you, Mataji. Very powerful. Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should always think of me. Always. So only way to remember Krishna is to always think of him. Only then you'll remember him at death. Okay, and to engage yourself in performing prescribed duties. This way, when you dedicate your senses, your body, your mind, your intelligence, when all of these are focused on Krishna, then you will remember Krishna at death. Let's think of the time. Let's do a practical example of, or test of, are you going to remember Krishna? Think of the last time you tripped. You're about to fall. You're going to fall face down on earth. What is that you remembered back at that time? Who did you remember? You would have shouted out something. So who did you
Mother.
shout out for?
Amma.
Amma.
Hare Krishna. Oh ma,
Hare-
then you say Hare Krishna. The first thing is Mama. Oh ma.
Amma, Appa.
Oh ma.
Yeah, in South India, we might call out to Appa also, right? Or some might, advanced people, modern people might use some bad names, right? I will not take those names here. But some of them very, fortunate ones might remember the name of Krishna. So this is a litmus test. When things happen like this out of the blue, do you remember Krishna? Because when death comes, if you don't remember Krishna when something like this suddenly happens, how will you remember Krishna when say something happens and the person has left the world? But if that sudden moment you don't remember Krishna, so you need to train yourself to constantly remember Krishna. When you wake up in the morning, call out the names of the Lord. Remember the Dashavatara, all the 10 Dashavataras, list them out. Think of the Lord, right? When you sneeze, call out Krishna's names, different Krishna's name. When you play games with your children, like you play Antakshari, think of all the names of the Lord. See if you can remember as many names, such fun names, right? And when you have bad thoughts, bad dreams, ask Krishna for forgiveness, ask Narsimha for or for protection, right? Or when you win a prize, get a promotion, thank the Lord. Remember to thank the Lord. Go to a temple, or you buy something nice like a car, nice clothes, jewelry. Don't forget to offer it to the Lord before you wear it personally, right? Or you meet with an accident, but it could have been a major accident, but somehow you escape it very nicely with few scratches. That is also the blessing of the Lord. You were supposed to go through something bigger. Maybe you have gone through something small because you're a devotee of the Lord, right? Now, most people back in those days, olden days, they would name their children with the names of the Lord: Krishna, Ganesha, Vishnu, Narsimha, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganga. So names of the Lord and the names of the associates of the Lord. Now, this is a good way to remember the Lord himself, right? So this way, we should always strive to remember the Lord. So if you're working on your laptop, say, or on your phone, keep the screensaver with a picture of the Lord. Save some picture of the Lord as your screensaver, or you have some pictures of the Lord at your home, right? Not just in the altar. Like outside the altar, everything is godless. Not like that. Even outside the altar, so because you're not always going to live inside the altar or inside the prayer room, right? So even outside the house, not in your bedroom, of course, but living room, dining area, you can put pictures of the Lord, right? Or if you have a working area, keep a small picture of the Lord there as well. So you're conscious about Krishna all the time. So this way, you practice remembering Krishna, right? Uh, for people who are learning to drive, if you're newly learning to drive, think of the time you got a call while driving. That would have disturbed you. But as you got become an expert in driving, what happens? You can have a conversation with the passenger sitting next to you without getting disturbed. So our state of remembering Krishna should be such that that should happen by default. Whatever actions that you're doing, remembering Krishna should be your default nature. Okay, so look at this. He says, remember him always. The verse is saying, remember him always. It's not just remember him for the 2 hours and then forget about him for the rest of the time. Some devotees ask this question, why only 16 rounds? We want to do more rounds. Yes, do it. Krishna is saying, remember me always, which means to say we should chant his name throughout the day and night. Right? 16 rounds is the minimum that's prescribed. Anybody who's a human being who wants to remember Krishna, at least 16 minimum you should do. But this verse is saying, remember Krishna every moment. Think of him every time. So think of it, if you're preparing for your exam, if you study throughout the year, you will pass your final exam, right? If you're practicing for a sport and if you practice through the whole period, you'll you'll win the final event. Similarly, only when you remember Krishna all the time, you will remember him at death. So he also tells us that we can remember him by how? By performing our prescribed duties. What are prescribed duties? By waking up early in the morning, attending Manglarati, offering bhogas to the Lord, honoring the same prasadam that is offered to the Lord. So if you're working, then some part of your salary you can use in the service of the Lord, right? Or if you have a company where many people are reporting to you, you can have a conducive environment built up in that factory where it's easy for them to remember Lord through the working hours, right? So this way you can encourage everyone, whatever duties that you're doing, you should do as a prescribed duty. Like if your parents, your children should be raised such that they become not just materially aware, but spiritually aware as well. Okay, it should not be just work. You need to be ready for this kind of job. No, you should be aware, be ready for the life that comes after at death, right? You should be ready for that. So when you're constantly engaging your senses in your prescribed duties, then your mind also gets focused on Krishna, and eventually your intelligence also gets focused on Krishna. So in this state, we will remember Krishna at death also and go back to Krishna, go back to his abode. Okay, let's read the next verse, verse 14.
May I, Mataji?
Praveen Prabhuji.
Ananya Chetaha Satatam Yomam Smriti Nityashaha.
Smrati
Smriti
Nityasha.
Nityashaha. Tashyam Sulabha Partha Nityuktasya Yoginaha. Translation by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna is saying how easy it is to attain him by just doing constant devotional service. So Krishna is saying we have to remember him without any deviation. Not that when I'm busy, I'll forget Krishna, or when everything is working out well, I'll forget Krishna. No, remember Krishna without any deviation. Happiness, sadness, honor, dishonor, things work out for you, don't work out for you. Remember Krishna, right? Just like a caterpillar is constantly sitting inside the cocoon and thinking of the day it will become a butterfly. So similarly, you need to think about going back to Krishna. You need to transform yourself such that you become the servant of Krishna, or you go back to Krishna, right? So that is how you remember Krishna, transform yourself. And he's giving you the mantra as well, constant engagement in devotional service. Similar to, like before Krishna said, you can attain his nature. How to attain that nature? By constantly meditating on Krishna. Just like the butterfly is caterpillar is within the cocoon is thinking of being a butterfly. Similarly, when you think of Krishna constantly, you will ultimately attain his nature. For such a person, they can obtain Krishna easily. They can attain Krishna easily. So bhakti yoga is the easiest process. You don't have to sit in one place. You don't have to meditate for long hours. You don't have to control your mind. The simple process of engaging in devotional service, your mind is automatically remembering Krishna. Right. So in the following verses, I've put a lot of verses over here that explains the difference between Ashtanga yoga process of meditating. Ashtanga, we discussed 8 limbs of Ashtanga yesterday, and the final stage is Samadhi. So to get to the point of Samadhi, these are everything that a person should do. I'll briefly go over that. In verse 10, Krishna is saying, you should control your breathing process at the time of death. Fix the life air between the eyebrows. And with the undeviated mind, focus on the Lord. And again, in verse 11, he's saying one should practice celibacy, brahmacharya. And verse 12 is saying, detach from all sensual engagement. They should focus on just sitting in one place, detached from everything sensual, sense objects. And they should fix their mind on the heart and the life air on top of their head. Now, Krishna is not explaining how this is done. He's just saying this is what you need to do, right? Fix your life air on your prana should be focused on the top of your head, because the process itself is much more difficult. He's just listing out. And then in verse 13, he's saying you should vibrate the sacred syllable of Om constantly. And if one thinks of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then while quitting his body, he will reach Brahman. Right. And then also he gives timings on when one should leave the body. It should happen during the time of light. Okay. And it should be happening in the auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of Krishna Paksha and what is the other one?
Shukla Paksha.
Shukla Paksha.
Paksha.
Yes. Krishna Paksha is the moon dimming out, and Shukla Paksha is the moon brightening. So it should happen the 2 weeks where the moon is increasing its brightness, and during the 6 months of Uttarayana, when the sun is moving upward. So all these conditions, if it's met, then a Ashtanga yogi will finally achieve, if he is successful, he'll achieve Brahman, not liberation, like liberation, or sorry, it is liberation, but they'll achieve the Brahman liberation, right? But in Bhakti Yoga, verse 14, he's saying the process is simple. Just engage constantly in devotional service. That's all. So in this chapters, Krishna is establishing that the process of yoga, to attain liberation through that, it's a very difficult process versus the process of bhakti. It's very simple. Okay, let's read verse 15.
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मनः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः. After attaining me, the great souls who are all yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Thank you, Mother.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna is describing material world, Dukkhalayam and Ashashwatam. Let's break the word. Dukkhalayam is? What does Dukkhalayam mean?
Full of misery.
Or material world.
Material world.
And what is Ashashwatam?
One which is
Not
not
permanent.
eternal.
So he's describing the material world as Dukkhalayam and Ashashwatam, temporary and filled with miseries, right? So while you're living in the material world, you should not be really bewildered by, why is this life so difficult? Why is my job so tough? Why is money so scarce? Okay, why is my family not respecting me? So many problems, so no employment, no money, people don't look up to me, so many issues. But Krishna is saying this material world is supposed to be that way. It's dukkhalayam, and it's also temporary. So when you already know that this material world is filled with miseries, why are you getting bewildered that your life is filled with sadness? Right? Temporary, that also means, anyone who's come into this material world has to leave. Some leave early, some leave after prolonged stay in this material world, but their body will be filled with all kind of diseases to the point that they want to leave the body, right? So even then it's filled with sadness. So in this material world, dukkha you'll get without looking for it. It's there everywhere, right? Even if for some time you feel, okay, I'm happy, I have a good family, I have a stable job, but then even then you still have to go through the 4 miseries of life, which is janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. The only time you can really say that I'm happy, happiness, is when these 4 conditions of material life no longer exist. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. Only then you can claim you're happy. Right? Each time we celebrate each other's birthday, we shout happy birthday, right? But what are we happy about? Because we are getting closer to death and we are not even prepared for death. So which means to say we are getting closer to a point where we'll have to come back to material life. So your material life should be spent primarily in preparing for death. That is the essence of this whole chapter, right? How to prepare for death. The only place where there is no anxiety, no fear, no death is Vaikunta. Okay? Vaikunta. Kunta means, does anyone know what does Kunta stand for?
Anxiety.
Yes.
Anxiety, yeah.
Kunta is anxiety. Vaikunta is a place without anxiety. So only when you go back to Vaikunta, these miseries, temporary stay does not exist. Once you go there, you've already achieved the highest perfection and there's no coming back. So you permanently get to enjoy the life in Vaikunta or Goloka. Now let's understand what is this material world. We keep referring to material world. Many people have the notion that material world is just the earth that we are living in. No. There are material world includes 14 planets. we are right in between. Bhuloka is the earth. Above us, there is 6 higher planets. We have Bhuvarloka, Swarga, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka. Satyaloka is where Brahma stays. Okay, so as you go higher, 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 the upper planets, your body gets more subtle. Understand that? It's more subtle. So, which means to say, once you exit Brahmaloka, when you go back to Goloka, your subtle body, only the soul is moving to Vaikuntha or Goloka, right? Here it's your subtle body. Subtle body includes your mind, intelligence, and soul. Okay, but in earthly planet Bhuloka, you have a subtle and a gross body. Gross body is your pancha bhuta body, made of air, water, earth, the 5 components. And then subtle body is your mind, body, mind, intelligence, and soul. So only in earth we have a subtle as well as a gross body. As we go down, there are 7 layers, 7 planets, which is the lower planets. Okay, and as you go there, the body gets more gross. The focus is more on external appearance. Okay, and Krishna Narayana in his Garbhodhayaka Vishnu form, and from his navel comes the lotus on which Brahma is sitting. So this is all material world. And anybody who takes birth in this material world has to go through this condition of Dukkhalayam and Ashashvatam. We'll understand a little better in verse 16. Praveen Prabhu, I'll take questions towards the end since I need to complete these topics. But hold on to the question, Hare Krishna. Verse 16, if someone can read this. Okay, I'll go ahead. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So all the 14 planetary systems that we described in the previous slide, all of that is material. He says even Brahma has to take birth again. Brahma has 100 years. We described it in one of the early chapters. In earthly lifetime, that turns up to be 4,300,000,000 years, 300 million years. That is Brahma's 100 years. Similarly, every planet, Tapa Loka, or heavenly planets, every planet, anybody who's born there has to take birth again. Think of it like like this. The higher planet and the lower planet, these are like hotel stays. Okay, the more pious karma that you collect on earth, okay, the higher that you can go on higher planets, and the more impious karma you collect, the more lower you can go on lower planets. So what happens once your currency is over, once your karma currency is over, pious currency is over, then you have to come back to earth to earn new currency. Right? Similarly, if your vikarma is over, all your impious karma is over, then you come back to earth to collect new currencies. Now, on material earth, on earth, you can decide whether you want to collect karma or vikarma or akarma. We discussed these 3 types of karma in the karma chapters. So karma is pious activities, vikarma is impious, and akarma is Krishna conscious activities. So you can only on earth, you can decide what kind of activities you can do. That is not possible in the higher planets or in the lower planets, right? So you come back to the earth, you collect more currencies, and depending on the type of currencies you have collected, could be pious, impious, then accordingly you will take a birth in the required planet. But once that currency is over, you come back to earth. So this way, even Brahma is a position. Okay, different people become Brahma at different times. So this way, even he, after 100 years, he has to come back to earthly planet. Okay, if he has not collected enough akarma by then he has to come back to earthly planet. So that's why we understand it. So Krishna is saying everyone, the highest of Brahma to the lowest, all of them have to come back to take birth again. But only for those who have attained his abode, there's no rebirth. Okay, let's read verse 28.
Krishna Mataji. May I?
Krishna. Yes, please go ahead.
Because 8.28. Vedeshu yakteshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. Translation by Sri Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mataji, screen
Hare
is
Krishna.
off. Screen is off.
1 second, Mataji. Okay, go ahead, Mataji. Sorry about that.
No problem. Hare Krishna. Translation. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities.
Yes.
Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So this verse is saying that if one, whatever punya one gets by reading the Vedas, performing different sacrifices, all of that is achieved by just performing devotional service. He attains all of that. So your Vedas, they just prescribe a lot of activities, karma kanda activities, pray to this god, do this homa, yagna, lot of that, right? So all of that piousness that you achieve by doing all that is achieved by doing devotional activities. And there are 9 kind of devotional activities. There is Shravanam, Kirtanam. Shravanam is hearing, Kirtanam is singing, chanting, right? Vishnu Smaranam, remembering the Lord. Pada Sevanam, serving the Lord. And Archanam, offering worship to the deities. Vandanam, praying to the Lord. Dasyam is what? Carrying out orders of the Lord. And then there's Sakyam. Sakyam is to be like a friend to the Lord. And then finally there is Atma Nivedhanam. Okay, sacrificing everything for the Lord. So you can offer service, devotional service to the Lord any which way. You can even by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Pada Sevanam, Smaranam, all of this is valid for devotional service. However, whatever you do, we should do without offense. Now, what is an offense is another big topic on its own. But in a nutshell, how you can understand is offense is to know the glories of the Lord and put down the Lord and his devotees. Okay, versus being disrespectful is you don't know the glories of the Lord and you're questioning or being speaking about the Lord disrespectfully. So there's a difference. But offenses are aparadha. Okay, there's bigger consequences. Now that you know about the glories of the Lord, we should not consciously offend the Lord or his devotees. So that becomes aparadha. Okay, so engaging in Krishna consciousness surpasses all rituals and orders of life with a single stroke. So this chapter in a nutshell is telling us that we need to live such a way that when we die, we remember Krishna. Okay, this is the only way to go back to Godhead. Now, there's a very nice pastime of a person called Ajamila. This Ajamila, he was trained from his childhood to be a good Brahmana. He's born in a Brahmanical family. He's learned all the Vedas, Shastras very nicely. He's following all the regulative principles. And till the point he reached a youthful age, a young age. Now, at this point, he saw a prostitute and he's very attracted to her. Right? And suddenly he's forgotten everything that he studied so long, he's forgotten. And eventually he got married to this prostitute. Okay. And from her, he had 10 children. And to please her, he would often steal, he'd plunder people, he'll kill people. He fell down to that state, right? Everything, vikarma, he fell down to that state. So he completely forgot about his previous pious life and started engaging in the worldly nefarious activities. Now, the last son that he got from this lady, he named him as Narayana, because Narayana was the youngest son. He somehow was very affectionate to the youngest son. So it so happened like this, at the time of death, when once he got old, when he was lying on his deathbed, Yamadutas came to collect his soul. Okay, and they were counting all his uh, all his impious activities, and looking at the very ferocious Yamadutas, he got very scared, and he called out to his family, his youngest son Narayana. He shouted with full fear. He wanted somehow that the youngest son will come and protect him from these Yamadutas. So he cried with full prayer in his voice. He prayed out, called out to Narayana, though he was not calling out to the Lord Narayana. Still, he called out Narayana. And as soon as he called Narayana, Vishnu Dutas appeared there. And a very, debate of sorts ensued between Yamadutas and Vishnu Dutas. Yamadutas are saying he did this crime, and hence he's eligible for this kind of punishment. We are going to take him. And Vishnu Dutas are telling, no, he's called out all the name of Narayana. Okay, and hence he's now eligible to go back to Vishnu Loka. We are not going to let you take him to Yama Loka. And listening to this conversation, this Ajamila realizes how impiously he's lived his life, and how the only, not his son, not his family, nobody can save him. The only thing that can save him is all the pious activities he's done in his lifetime. So this conversation happened, and Yamadutas finally give up and say, okay, you take care of him. And they left Ajamila his soul back. But Ajamila got a wonderful opportunity. After hearing all this debate, his heart was somehow transformed. His sinful nature was somehow reduced, and he realized his mistake. And Yamadutas could understand that, so they gave him a second chance. Okay, they didn't take him back right away. They said they extended his life on the material earth, right? And this time, Ajamila gave up on his family. He lived in Haridwar, and he lived such that he constantly thought about the Lord. He was engaged completely in devotional service. And like this, he got back to remembered his Brahmanical training all over again. He remembered the Lord. And in course of time, Vishnudutas came back again and took him to Krishna Loka. But Ajamila is very fortunate in that sense. He got a second chance. But not all of us will get a second chance, right? So we need to be aware. The only chance that we have is this whole human life. We need to live it such that we'll remember Krishna at the point of death. Okay. So once there was a conversation between Yudhishthira and Yamaraja. Yamaraja came as a yaksha, right? And yaksha asked this question to Yudhishthira and asked him, what is the most surprising aspect of material life? And Yudhishthira says the fact that everyone will meet their death, but yet everyone thinks that this death will not happen to us. We will not die, right? Though they are seeing death every day, they are not somehow think that they will not die. So that is the most surprising thing of the material world. So death, everyone will meet that death, right? Only thing, we need to be prepared for that. And that is the only way we'll be saved from this cycle of life and death. Think of a boy and a girl. If a boy loves the girl, or the girl loves a boy, just constantly saying, I love you, does not mean anything, right? The love should be expressed in action. It could be taking care of each other in time of need, or cooking something nice once in a while, or getting something nice for each other, or doing something, spending some time together, whatever it is. Action is how we reflect our love. So similarly with Krishna, Krishna is saying, okay, I know you love me, but you should express it with action. And what is action? Doing your prescribed duties, offering devotional service. So we should not just be emotional and say, I love Krishna. But how are you showing that love? By performing that Navavida Bhakti, singing about Krishna, by listening about Krishna, by talking about Krishna, right? This is how we offer devotional service to Krishna. So what happens if a devotee is not able to remember Krishna at the time of death? Yadi vathadi doshena madbhakto mam na cha smaret aham smarami madbhaktaha nayami paramagatim. If my devotee is unable to remember me at the time of death because of disturbance felt within the body at that time, then I shall remember my devotee and take him back to my supreme abode. Okay, so Krishna is saying like that. So just in case, because of whatever material conditions, you're not able to remember Krishna, okay, you're in a state of coma and you're not able to chant his name. Krishna is saying, as long as you've engaged your whole life in my devotional service, I will remember you and take you back. This is coming from Varaha Purana. There's a very nice pastime of Ramanujacharya. So this Ramanujacharya is the Sri Sampradaya. He headed the Sri Sampradaya, set up the whole Sri Sampradaya, right? So this, and he had a lot of students. A lot of students would come and study under him. So this one time when he was teaching a batch of students, of course, they came to Ramanujacharya thinking he's such a exalted devotee. I need to serve him. But they say in English that with association comes contempt, right? As you spend more time with the person, then you start finding issues, you look for faults. So the same thing happened with the students as well. Though they knew the exalted position of Ramanujacharya, slowly they started ignoring him, or not listening to him, trying to avoid him, trying to find faults. All this was happening. And Ramanujacharya had this habit of giving chip rice as prasadam at the end of the class. So some students will take it. Some students will say, what is this same chip rice? I don't want it. They'll just walk out of the class without saying anything. So Ramanujacharya is noticing everything, but he doesn't say anything. So one of these days, the same chip rice that he was giving to his students, he threw it in a pond or a lake, and the fishes there in the pond is eating it. And as soon as the fishes ate it, they got the four-armed Narayana form and took off. They went back to Vaikunta. And the students of Ramanujacharya saw this. They said, we eat this chip rice every day, but this thing has not ever happened to us. So how come these fishes, they are able to go back with their Narayana form? And Ramanujacharya said the fishes have no offense. And as soon as they got an opportunity to serve the Lord, even having prasadam of the Lord is serving the Lord, right? So they went back to Godhead. But what did the students do? They were constantly trying to offend their guru. They thought the guru was material, right? They didn't understand the position of the guru. So they increased their sins. And because of those sins, even though they're having prasadam, because of their offenses, they could not go back to Godhead. So there's a difference between offenses. Offenses is knowing the the position of the guru or Krishna and still trying to find faults, right? So we should, even while chanting, we should chant such a way that we chant offenselessly. Okay, we should always think of Krishna and chant offenselessly. So that's the best way to go about it. So today, in today's class, we spoke about remembering Krishna at time of death, attaining his nature, not attaining Krishna, attaining his nature. So remembering at Krishna at any state is the only way to go back to his abode. Okay, act and think of him, and that's the only way to attain his abode. And then we spoke about material manifestation, how it is filled with 4 types of miseries. Okay, performing of devotional service to attain the supreme abode. That's the final verdict of this chapter, that we should perform devotional service to attain his abode. Finally, we'll close this with this one verse. If someone can try reading it.
Hare Krishna Mataji, shall I read?
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna. Jayanamadheya Munivrinda Gehe Janaranjanaya Param Akshara Krite Tvam Anadarad Abhimanag Udiritam Nikhilograta Papatalim Vilumpase Krishna Namastakam, verse 2. O Harinama, O name sung by the sages, O transcendental syllables that bring bliss to the people, even if you are spoken only once, and even if you are spoken disrespectfully, you at once remove the many harsh sufferings of everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. So here it's talking about being disrespectful, not the offense. Disrespectful. A good example of this is once when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was around, there was a newspaper that published about this Hare Krishna movement. They said this Hare Krishna movement is no good. They criticized the movement, but they kept referring to the movement as Hare Krishna. So some of his disciples bought this newspaper article to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and told him, look at this article, how they've written about our movement. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't take offense to this. He said, okay, these people don't know about the glories. But he said, can you count how many times they mentioned Hare Krishna, right? And they counted 80 times. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati said they said the name of Krishna 80 times. So it's all good. It's okay that they are abusing us, but they still said the name. So there is some sin that is removed from their heart because of that process. So offending the name of the Lord is nama parada, while being disrespectful to the Lord while you're not aware of the glory is nama bhasa. Both should be avoided if you can, but being a devotee and doing a nama parada is a bigger offense than being disrespectful. So disrespectful is fine. Disrespectful is to say you don't follow the process of chanting, right? Somebody might chant the name of the Lord in the toilet, or they might call out the name of the Lord when shouting on something or somebody. So they're using it disrespectfully, but it's a lesser offense than being offensive to the name of the Lord itself. Okay, that's how you understand it. So with that, we end our chapter for today. Are there any questions for today? We already finished chanting. So Praveen Prabhu, you can ask your question.
Mataji,
Yes.
Hare Krishna
Mataji, sorry.
Praveen Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So Mataji, you mentioned about the body being soul being promoted to the upper lokas, right? Including basically and you mentioned about gross body and subtle body.
Yes.
So when, let's say, one attains the Vaikuntha or the abode of Supreme Lord, which is Goloka,
yes,
is it like gross body or it's a subtle body?
Vaikuntha Goloka is just the soul.
Just the
Only
soul.
the soul. Your subtle body includes your mind, intelligence, and soul. And
So, Mataji,
higher you go, the more subtle your body gets.
Okay, Mataji. So, Mataji, when we hear these pastimes and about glorifying the God, they say that all the residents of Vaikuntha, they are like four-handed. So, how I mean, without gross body, how we recognize that four-handed and they're like beautiful, or
it's
because
as said by the acharyas, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji.
We'll have to trust the acharyas, shastras, and that's how we learn it.
Sure, Mataji.
Right?
There's
yeah.
one more question I have.
Yeah.
You mentioned about Brahmaji that once he completes his some 4 billion years, which is
100 years in
of
Brahma years. Yeah.
Yes. And then there's a change in the position.
Yes.
Some other soul will take place.
Yes. Just like Manu, just like Indra.
Indra, yeah.
All of them are positions. These are not people. This is the name of the position. So after their time is done, someone new takes on their role.
So, Mataji, they are in very, how should I say, opulences and, very superior role or position in that sense. So is there their karmas which they cannot retain their position, or how it works for them?
It depends on how they use their existing karma. If they engage more in devotional work, they will go back to Goloka.
Yeah, Mataji, because what we hear from acharyas and these kathas, because
Yes.
they are constantly engaged themselves in devotional
In
services
serving
of
Lord.
God.
But also, remember there are 33 demigods, 33 crores demigod.
Crores, 33
Yes,
crore, yeah,
33
33
crores,
crores,
right?
yes.
We know about the top 5, 6, whoever it is. But
Mhm.
supporting each demigod is like a team that takes out their order instructions. So there are many, many devis, devatas. So like that, we have 33 crore devatas. Not all of them will be exalted like that.
Sure,
Right.
Mataji. And
So once you earn that kind of credit, so even when you're going to, the reason why we talk about higher planets, especially like heavenly planets where you can have a lot of luxury around, a lot of apsaras around, it's easy to get deviated if you want to get deviated, right?
Mataji, is there
Yeah.
any reference, let's say any Brahmaji or, coming back to earthly planet,
Hmm.
uh, to basically reference
No,
that?
there's no reference of Brahmaji is coming back like that, but I can definitely check and see if there is
Okay.
something. Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji. Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Yes. Grishma Mataji, yes, you put out a question on the survey. Is that the only question you had or something else?
No, that is the only question.
Okay. Do you want to summarize your question so everyone understands the question?
Yes. So in science, we have been learning that sun is a star
Yes.
and other planets. So
Hmm.
science, we learn that uh, the star is a celestial body that emits its own light, but
Yes.
planets don't emit their own light. They just reflect the light of the star.
Yes.
Um, and in the spiritual discourses that we listen, that we always hear about only planets. So even sun is a planet.
Hmm.
Uh, Even Dhruva, which is the pole star,
Yes.
Dhruva is sometimes it's called Dhruva Tara also,
Hmm. Is
which
a
is the sun.
star.
I mean, sorry,
Yeah.
a star.
Yeah.
Then sometimes Dhruva Loka also.
Yes. Okay. How to understand what is a planet versus a star.
Huh.
Okay. We'll forget what science teaches, the textbook teaches us for some time. We'll try to understand it Vedically. Okay. Now there's a science in Veda called astrology. What is that called? Jyotisha. Okay, which talks in depth about planets, stars, grahas, nakshatra. So, what is the definition of a graha? Graha is something that moves in its orbit. It's constantly moving. Nakshatra means something that is still, not moving. Okay. We know about 9 grahas, right? Navagraha, we call it. And for each day of the week, there's a graha. Surya graha, Chandra graha, and what is that? Mangala graha, Buddha graha. So for each day of the
Brihaspati,
week, there's a graha. And then there are 2 shadow grahas, Rahu and Ketu, right? The 9 grahas that you learned in your textbook is not same to same here. Okay, like your Uranus, Neptune, Pluto is not even counted in our Vedic grahas, right? We are talking about grahas as, and what is nakshatras? The moon god has 21 wives, who is the wife, daughters of Daksha. Each of them are nakshatras. Okay, makes sense so far? So 27 nakshatras. So the way to look at whether a planet, whether it's a graha or a nakshatra is it moving or is it still? Now, in our science book, they tell us sun does not move, it's still. But you heard about the pastime of Priyavrata. Sun is moving about around the Sumeru mountain, and hence that whole Priyavrata pastime happened. Even otherwise, there's a pastime of Hanumanji when he's learning from Surya Deva as his guru. He followed he faced his guru all the time. He moved with the sun in the same axis. So, and even when you go to temples, you'll see sun is sitting on a chariot. The sun is also moving, but our science textbooks will say that it is still, right? And but what we are learning in the Vedas is pratyaksha pramana, as seen by our sages, our ancestors. They have documented it. Till very recent, we had this debate whether Earth is flat or round. but whenever you look at Varaha Purana, earth is always round. He's going down to the platonic areas and he's bringing down the earth, and the earth will picture is round on his horn, right? So us, our ancestors, our Rishis and sages have already said that earth is round, but the world was debating still whether it's flat. So this way, we should understand who is giving all this so-called textbooks, who is telling us this is this, because till recent they said Pluto is a planet, then somebody said Pluto is not a planet. Now I think it's back to be a planet, but there are 7 people called it's called the International Astronomical Union, right? It's based in Paris. So these 7 people sit together and decide, make decisions to say, based on all the satellite information they have, to say, now we have figured out 8 planets. Now we have 9 planets. This is not a planet anymore. Somebody is, based on the limited information they have and what they can see with their limited satellites and telescope, is telling us, this is what we know for now. But the thing is, it's all experimental knowledge. It's not confirmed knowledge. They'll never tell you this is a final truth. Maybe 100 years from now, they'll have a new truth to tell us in our textbooks. So read your textbooks for understanding, taking your exams, okay, because you can't put Shastric knowledge there. But take the real knowledge from the Shastras. Right? That's how. Now, we spoke about Dhruva Tara. Dhruva Tara is also a spiritual planet. Now, remember, these planets, of course, have people staying in them. The stars also have people staying in them, but they don't have you and my type of body. They have a body that is more suited for that kind of environment. The people who are in the sun planet will have a body that can face that kind of temperature. Moon will have that kind of body, different type of body. So the stars, people living in the different 27 stars, Rohini Nakshatra, Uttarashada Nakshatra, all these other nakshatras, each of them have their own entities. They live in there. Okay, Dhruva Tara is a spiritual Tara. So it is also emitting light, but the light is coming directly from spiritual planets, right? Because it's a spiritual entity, it is self-effulgent. Versus the sun, we say sun is self-emitting light on its own, but Shastras say that even sun is reflecting the light of Brahma Jyoti. And from Brahma Jyoti, all the internal stars will get their light. Right? So there's a lot of things that the textbooks don't tell us. But when you come to forums like this and you ask such questions, you're exposed to more information.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank
okay,
you.
good. Vidya Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to ask, how will we know? Okay, basically, it's the most dumbest question that anybody can ever ask.
Oh, no dumb questions. I've done dumber things, so feel confident in asking your questions.
How will we know how is a soul progressing forward? Whether we, even
Who
in the
has to
current
know?
state. So, how will we realize the soul is what I'm trying to ask?
In the
So,
material
for
earth?
example, in the material earth, yes.
Okay.
So, if we are being Krishna conscious to a larger extent than what we were before, okay. What more needs to be done in order to say I am not this body, but I am the soul?
What more needs to be done to say I'm not the body, but I'm the soul?
Yes.
Okay. Who are you telling this to? To yourself, right?
Myself, yes.
Yes. So Krishna has given that answer very clearly. If you are in a state where you are connected back to the Lord, your consciousness is always aware of the Lord, right?
Yeah.
You're feeling happiness when you're thinking of Krishna, when you're doing some Krishna conscious activity. And when you're not doing Krishna conscious activity, you're feeling, what am I doing here? Let me focus on something more important. This is taking me away from Krishna. If you get to that state, you know that your soul is attain its ultimate happiness in being in connection with Krishna. Right?
Okay.
But that consciousness should not be a erratic, sporadic thing. right?
Okay.
You have association with devotees for few days, you're feeling that kind of, I want to be in Krishna consciousness. But the more you engage with material people, then you start feeling, okay, I can't do this many rounds of chanting, I'll reduce one. Maybe in the weekend, if I have time, I'll do more. Okay. Your priority should be Krishna consciousness. But if you are going up and down in your commitments to Krishna, and you're not very as dedicated when you're away, when you're affected by material things, if you're questioning, should I really do all this now versus, should I not do, if all that questions come, then you need to revalidate how far you've come in Krishna consciousness then, right? But
Mataji, I'm
yeah.
feeling guilty when I engage in material activities.
Okay.
I feel bad. Why am I doing this? This is something that is not of interest to me, but I'm doing it because it is there. I
Okay.
have to do it.
You have to do it.
That
Krishna
kind of.
is not saying give up everything. He's saying do your karma.
No,
But do your
it is.
karma such that you remember Krishna all the time, right?
It is like, for example, watching TV. Okay.
Yes.
It is like I don't have anything else to do, so let me watch TV.
Watch TV.
But when I start watching TV, nothing interests me as such.
Yes.
I might rather go back and see, look at Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam and do something regarding
Yes.
that rather than.
See, this anxiousness or awareness that you're not finding happiness in material things is also progress. You should not put your down self or saying, I'm doing these things, but somewhere I'm feeling guilty. But that awareness that you have is your jiva reminding you that you need to spend your time doing something more productive, right? So that awareness is always nice, and that awareness will take you to higher levels of Krishna consciousness. Right. That I quit my job about 1.5 years back. I was working in a very well project management role, good salary. I was in a good leadership role. But I was practicing Krishna consciousness. And of course, after I reached a point where I said, I've saved enough, I've taken care of my responsibilities, and now I can focus completely on Krishna consciousness, I decided to take a sabbatical, which extended to a complete break. Right. And that time I had, how did I use it? I had already finished my Bhakti Shastri before I quit. Now I had little basic understanding of, this is what each book says. And now I started engaging myself a little more. I associated myself in some projects with ISKCON. Like there's a Gurukul in Belgaum. I'm associated with that project. So I quite often keep traveling to Belgaum and meet Maharaj over there, meet the kids. We give classes over there whenever we get time. And then I got engaged in this kind of activity. So if that consciousness is very strong, so do your material activities so till you feel your family will no longer complain about you quitting. Then make a shift when you feel it is ready. But if you feel that your engagement is needed, don't abruptly give up your material responsibility, because even you will feel dissatisfied after that. Right. So continue till you have to. And at a point when you know that everything is good, you're ready to take the leap, if Krishna will tell you that you're ready, and you will know that you want to engage in this kind of activities versus not. But feel a taste of what you're getting into, right? It shouldn't be that you take a leap and then say, no, this is not for me, right? So take small baby steps. And when you're ready at some point, you can take the big leap.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other questions?
Mataji, can I ask?
Yes, please go ahead.
Mataji, the concepts of Kul Devta and Ishta Devta, how important they are.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, Prabhuji, your voice is a little feeble.
The concept of Kul Devta and Ishta Devta.
Okay.
How important it is for progress in life. Because if you don't know your Kul Devta and Ishta Devta, how do you go about it?
Are you talking about Kul Devtas, like what level? Because I'm preaching only praying to Supreme Lord. Right? No, you can pray to your Kul Devta, Ishta Devta, but if you, but you should pray to them in such a way that they are praying helping you in your Krishna conscious journey. Remember, even they are the servants of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
If you do not know, if you do not know your Kulu Devta,
Okay.
because you see,
Doesn't matter. Pray to Krishna. Yeah, just pray to Krishna. If you don't know something that is anyway lower than the Supreme Lord, why do you have to break your head on that?
That's right. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, are there any questions on chat? No other questions. I'm going to end the call for today. Again, when you submit your feedback on the quiz survey, I see some of you giving ratings of 0, 1, and 2, but I'm not seeing any valid comments for that kind of low scores on the surveys. Please put your survey feedback as well so I can understand where we can improve, right? So please participate in the quiz, share your comments, feedback, and don't forget, this Gita Gyan is a continued journey. It's not going to stop after these 18 years. There are a lot more programs that we are going to engage you in. So remember to stay connected in these WhatsApp groups. Okay, we'll take you through more book reading. We'll take you through Gita Gyan level 2, higher levels of Gita understanding and study. So stay connected, and this way you'll also improve your Krishna consciousness and be more engaged in this process of learning about Krishna. Jai. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji,
Dandavad pranam.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandavad pranam
to everybody. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandavad pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much. Dandavad pranam.
Dandavad pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm ending the call for everyone. Thank you for joining.